Talk Business Arkansas is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau, the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Arkansas, the Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, Noble Strategies, the Arkansas Healthcare Association, and Delta Trust and Bank.
I'm Roby Brock with today's Talk Business Arkansas update. Governor Mike Beebe making a big splash at the Capitol today with a major appointment. Former House Speaker Robert Moore of Arkansas City was appointed to the prestigious Arkansas Highway Commission, a 10-year appointment. Moore championed an unsuccessful highway improvement program when he was in the Arkansas legislature. Later, a modification of that plan did pass into law through a proposed constitutional amendment. Moore is a South Arkansas native. He replaces Madison Murphy on the Arkansas Highway Commission. Governor Beebe also made some headlines late yesterday when he made an announcement to a political animals club that he would be in favor of repealing the death penalty. Beebe said he would sign a bill to repeal capital punishment if it reached his desk. What caused me to come to that way of thinking is how I felt when I had to sign a death warrant, he said. The governor has not presided over a single execution as governor in 6+ years in office. He signed 4 death warrants, but those executions have been held up due to litigation. Well, from the state capitol, the pace slowed down towards week's end after all the pomp and circumstance earlier in the week. State lawmakers went home early on Thursday. They will reconvene on Tuesday. They're going to take Monday off for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. When we come back from this break, we'll run through some of the big business headlines of the last 24 hours. And later, I sit down with Senator Jake Files. He's the chairman of the Senate Revenue and Tax Committee. We're going to find out how all of those tax cut bills are either going to get gummed up or get out of his committee. I'm Roby Brock. This is Talk Business.
I don't think it's going to be an easy conversation because they are very strong-willed. I think it's going to be important to us that we know that you're somewhere in a facility that looks after you, has compassion, has care, and you respect it. I mean, I'd love to look after them, I'd love to be able to take care of them, but I don't think I could. That'd be a wrong choice on my part.
Arkansas's skilled nursing and assisted living centers provide quality care for our seniors.
Farm Bureau helps protect its members in more ways than you might think. They've always been the voice of agriculture in Arkansas, working on behalf of folks like me when nobody else would. And Farm Bureau stands for the values that Arkansas families care about. They've protected my right to farm and make a living, which helps everybody who likes food on the table. You know what they say, Arkansas counts on agriculture, and agriculture counts on Farm Bureau.
The Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Arkansas. The State Chamber AIA is the leading voice for business at the state capitol and serves as the primary business advocate on all issues affecting Arkansas employers. Our mission is to promote a pro-business, free enterprise agenda and prevent anti-business legislation, regulations, and rules. Now more than ever, business matters. Learn more at arkansasstatechamber.com.
Earnings news tops today's business headlines. 2 banks, 2 good quarters. Bank of the Ozarks started the 4th quarter earnings season for Arkansas's publicly traded firms by reporting 4th quarter net income of $20.7 million. That's up over 17% from a year ago. For the full year, Bank of the Ozarks net income totaled $77 million. That was actually down 24%. Home Bancshares, the parent company of Centennial Bank, posted record 4th quarter and full year profits. The Conway-based bank holding company reported net income of $16.9 million in the 4th quarter, $63 million for the full fiscal year. And here's another quick business headline for you. Economist Kathy Deck from the University of Arkansas's Walton College Center for Business and Economic Research has penned a new commentary for us on our website and for our magazine at Talk Business Arkansas, talkbusinessarkansas.com. It's on finding confidence in the new year. It's a good read for anybody in business. Check it out at talkbusinessarkansas.com. When we come back from this break, I'll sit down with Senator Jake Files. He's the chairman of the Senate Revenue and Tax Committee. We're going to talk tax cuts. We may talk a few other things as well. I'm Roby Brock. We're back after the break.
Noble Strategies is a bipartisan state and federal government affairs firm with a successful track record of providing effective advocacy for business, government, and nonprofit entities. Noble Strategies provides service in areas such as lobbying, public affairs, trade association management, and marketing campaigns. Learn more at noblestrat.com.
I was looking for a bank that could best protect my finances.
That shared my passion for my business's potential.
A bank that offered investment expertise.
Lending support. Insurance guidance.
A bank that delivered full financial support.
That's how I found True Balance.
True Balance.
From my bank.
From my bank.
Delta Trust and Bank, the expertise to meet all your financial needs.
One of the real advantages of electric cooperatives membership is having a voice in our state's energy future.
Not a week goes by without important energy issues making headlines. These are issues that need to be discussed. And you should know that as policies are being developed, the cooperatives are looking out for our members, advocating what's best for you.
We are your friends and neighbors.
We are your local electric company.
The electric cooperatives.
We are Arkansas.
I'm joined by Senator Jake Files from Fort Smith. He is the Senate Chairman of the Revenue and Tax Committee. Senator, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Roby.
Lots to talk about taxes in this legislative session, particularly tax reform, tax cuts, everything from income tax, targeted business tax cuts. Governor wants to repeal more on the grocery tax. You get to be the stopgap for all of that. So,
good or bad?
Yes. So tell me, what's going to be your policy on taxes?
Well, as it relates to timing, which is one of the big questions right now as we're just starting out, I think we'll probably have a little bit of a wait and see approach because Medicaid, the shortfall there is going to determine what else can be done and what monies are available for cuts or other things. So it may be just a little bit before we get into the actual nuts and bolts of it, but I think there's going to be some policy reforms happen, and there's a lot of things being talked about right now. It's yet to determine how the membership of both chambers will come out and be supportive on those.
What are you going to do when someone says, I've got a tax bill, I want to run it, I'm ready to run it, I've got some support and votes for it? Is there going to have to be some sort of revenue neutrality for you at this juncture until you guys know more about Medicaid, or are you going to let people make their presentations and let the chips fall where they may?
I'm certainly going to be open to letting them make their presentation, but I'm also going to ask them for some revenue neutrality. I think it's irresponsible for us right now just to start kicking off a bunch of tax cuts without knowing even how much we have to spend or what effects may potentially be on our universities, hospitals. I mean, there's a myriad of things that are all good things, just as a lot of these tax cut bills are good bills and they affect people in a good way. But I just don't think it's prudent at this juncture to take those on and just start passing a bunch out and just let the chips fall where they may.
Senator Bill Gwatney, the late Senator Bill Gwatney, was chairman of Revenue and Tax one time. He told me, he said, you have to really be able to say no as the chairman of the Senate Revenue and Tax Committee. Are you pretty good at saying no?
Well, Senator Teague told me the same thing. He goes, this is the hardest job in the world. I don't really know why you wanted it. But I think it's an opportunity to be influential in what policies get determined. That's what was attractive, was just to be a part of the discussion. I think it's important that we have folks that understand how business works, and there's a lot of people down here that don't meet a payroll and are just getting a check from somebody. That's a whole different perspective than every week I'm getting ready to go back and run payroll for my company, and just knowing the obligations that come week after week and the demands that you have, it changes your perspective both on taxing and how the government affects you.
Do you have some personal tax goals that you have? Or are you going to kind of look at things a little bit more holistically? Do you see some things that you want to personally bring to the forefront, or do what some committee chairmen have done in the past, and that is just really try to keep the trains running on time and not wade deep into any of that?
In my mind, I'm going to wade deep into some of it because I think it's worth wading into. It may affect some of my other legislative goals and things I want to try to get done, but I think it's important that the chairman be involved in what's going to happen. And so I hope to get in. There's a lot of talk about income tax reform, and I think it's a good debate, and I think we need to look long term at a solution that reforms our income tax structure. The example I use is that the head of Stevens and a first-year teacher who's a single mom are in the same tax bracket, and that's not right. And so we need to do some things to change that. However, we can't do everything at one time to make all those changes hit.
Could you see, obviously doing some middle class income tax reform with the brackets has been discussed, could you see raising taxes on wealthier Arkansans by creating a new income tax bracket level?
Not really. I don't think raising taxes is the answer. I do think adjusting the bracket some, but I think the thing that I want to be focused on is taxes that create jobs and doing things to make our climate better. And I know people talk about that on the campaign. Here's an opportunity for us to do something. And I think that's what politics has gotten a bad name for, and a lot of reasons is because everybody campaigns one way and then you go to Little Rock or you go to Washington and do something totally different. And it's time for us to stand behind some of that stuff. So I think we've got an opportunity here to make some cuts and some reforms that will be good for business, that will give our business climate incentives to do more.
Are you supportive of the governor's grocery tax repeal?
The governor's grocery tax repeal would not be my first tax repeal, but I am supportive. I think it's important. You know, where I tend to lie on some of these things are things that would bring more capital in the state. You know, for example, we have Georgia Pacific plant in Fort Smith, and when I went and visited the plant, they talked about how efficient they were, and everything that we did in the legislature affected their efficiency. Well, the global corporate company made decisions on where they invested more capital. And they were getting more capital because they were more efficient than the Paducah, Kentucky plant and several others. And it was a great example, a tangible example of when we do things that make a local company more efficient, then it allows their parent company to invest money, which turns into jobs, and just more than that allows that plant is cemented in where it's going to be. And I think that's what you saw with Whirlpool too. They stop investing capital. The next step is they start pulling product. The next step is the closure.
Speaking of jobs, the governor has hinted, and AEDC Director Grant Tennille has said that Arkansas looks like it's a finalist for a super project. Announcement could be coming very soon, north of a $1 billion investment. This is going to trigger Amendment 82, which is going to obligate the state to pay general obligation bonds. Complicated process as to how all that works. Do you sense that legislators are going to, A, be very supportive that we've got a super project that could create jobs here? We've seen them fall apart in some other states.
Sure.
How skeptical do you think the membership is?
I think there's a lot of excitement and optimism going in. Not very many, if any of us, have seen a lot of details on it, so the verdict remains to be seen. But I think I've got a lot of optimism that these things are going to be a good deal. The fine line here is what is the state willing to what are we willing to vote to obligate the state on, and what do we get in return? And I'm going to be real interested to see how that economic analysis comes back to where that payback comes back, because if it doesn't pay itself back, then it turns into us picking winners and losers, and I don't think that's the goal for being down here.
So you could see a situation or a scenario where it looks like a good deal, you guys vote for it and approve it. You could see it where you say that's way too much to obligate the state for, can't go forward with that.
I think that's an option, and certainly the governor and AEDC have done their homework. They're not just going to throw something out and hope it sticks. But I don't want to put us in a situation where we have a lot of things going right. We have the balanced budget, and this just doesn't go into that calculation, but becomes an indebtedness that nobody can pay for.
All right, Senator Jake Files, thank you very much.
Thank you.
He's the chairman of the Senate Revenue and Tax Committee. He's going to be very, very influential in this legislative session. And that's all for this edition of Talk Business Arkansas. I'm Roby Brock. Hope that you join us again here next time. We'll be back tomorrow.
Talk Business Arkansas is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau, the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Arkansas, the Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, Noble Strategies, the Arkansas Healthcare Association, and Delta Trust and Bank.